Okay, so we have a lot to get to this evening, but I do want to start with the news that is currently breaking the internet, quite literally. Today, a federal panel of judges upheld a new law, one signed by President Biden, banning the popular Chinese-owned social media company TikTok in the United States. The law gives TikTok's China-based parent company ByteDance until January 19th of next year to sell the platform to a non-Chinese company, or it will no longer be available to U.S. users. This is a complex, high-stakes policy that will require experienced diplomats to try and carry it out. Diplomats like this guy, Nicholas Burns, President Biden's ambassador to China. Now, Ambassador Burns is a career Foreign Service officer. He has served as ambassador to NATO and to Greece, and he has served at high-level positions in and all over the State Department. But yesterday, we learned who Donald Trump wants to put in that same position: former Republican Senator David Perdue of Georgia. Perdue is likely being rewarded for his years of service to Donald Trump as a stalwart election denier. In 2022, Perdue unsuccessfully tried to primary Georgia's Republican governor, Brian Kemp, after Kemp refused to go along with Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election results. Now, David Perdue is not entirely devoid of experience in China. He is a former resident of Hong Kong who reportedly spent time working in the region as a businessman at Dollar General, which is a discount goods company, and at Sara Lee, the baked goods company, and at Reebok, the shoe company. But it's kind of hard to see how a former businessman who spent years trying to court Chinese businesses has the diplomatic chops to go toe-to-toe with the Chinese government on delicate issues like the potential sale of TikTok. And yet, when it comes to Trump's most questionable appointments, Perdue's nomination is not likely to be high on anybody's list. And that is because Donald Trump has nominated so many supremely unfit people to important government positions that it's hard to keep track of them all. Consider Trump's pick to lead the Internal Revenue Service, former Republican Congressman Billy Long of Missouri. Billy Long's nomination to be America's chief tax collector has not gotten a lot of attention, but it probably should, given that during his time in Congress, Long repeatedly co-sponsored a bill that would have abolished the IRS, which is the very agency he's now being tapped to lead. What happens if the guy in charge of collecting the tax revenue to fund the government doesn't think his job should even exist? Who knows? Then there's Trump's pick to lead the Department of Energy, oil industry CEO Chris Wright, a man who has emphatically declared that there is no climate crisis and who likens efforts to fight climate change to Soviet-style communism. Wright has been similarly dismissive about the potential harm to America's drinking water posed by the chemicals used in fracking. And he has gone to some fairly extreme lengths to make that point, posting videos of himself actually drinking a cocktail of fracking chemicals.
So Joel is mixing a collection of chemicals here. Bleach, you use to clean your swimming pool. We use it to kill bacteria too in our frac fluids. Polyacrylamide in the middle. We use it to reduce friction. And on the right, we have a surfactant, otherwise known as soap. Come on, everybody, let's come on in and let's drink to the world from oil and gas. Cheers! Cheers! Cheers.
That guy, the guy making his employees take a shot of bleach and soap on camera, that's the man Donald Trump wants to put in charge of U.S. energy policy. And then there's Trump's pick to be the next director of national intelligence, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Concerned members of Congress and the intelligence communities have been ringing alarms about Gabbard's alleged ties to adversarial governments in Russia and Syria. And this week, the Associated Press is reporting that nearly 100 former senior U.S. diplomats and intelligence and national security officials have urged Senate leaders to schedule closed-door hearings to allow for a full review of the government's files on Gabbard before they consider her nomination. It is not a great sign when you nominate someone to lead America's intelligence agencies and members of those same intelligence agencies say, hey, wait a second, maybe you should read the secret files we have on her before you go and do that. It is not a great sign. Then, of course, there is Trump's choice that has been dominating the headlines, his embattled pick for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Hegseth has spent the week facing a swirl of allegations of heavy drinking on the job, financial mismanagement, and sexual misconduct, all allegations he denies. NBC News has reported that as many as 6 Republican senators don't yet support Hegseth, which is enough to sink his eventual nomination. Today, Trump himself finally and publicly came to Hegseth's defense in an interview with NBC News' Kristen Welker.
It looks like Peter's doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
Since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy.
Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No. I think he will, yeah. I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
No.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem.
Display of support. Behind the scenes, Trump is reportedly not doing much to help Hegseth along. According to ABC News, Trump himself has not been working the phones for Hegseth, as he did for Matt Gaetz, his original pick for Attorney General, who withdrew his name from consideration amid sexual assault allegations. And according to the Washington Post, Hegseth has been told not to expect Trump to apply pressure to Republican senators to get him over the finish line, according to people familiar with the discussions. Trump has apparently learned the lesson from the Matt Gaetz debacle, and he is not ready to stick his neck out for another controversial nominee. But reporting tonight suggests that the people around Trump see an upside to all of this. According to a new story from Mark Caputo at The Bulwark, aides to Trump believe that if Hegseth is drawing fire from critics, there will be less attention and heat on Trump's other controversial nominees, like Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Hegseth is a heat shield, said a senior Trump advisor. Pete can take the heat, and that's better for everyone else.